Rev up your engines! All right, here we have a soldier's Nissan Titan. It's getting too hot. It's not getting to the H, but it's running too hot when the AC is on and when he's driving in traffic. On the highway, it works perfectly fine. So let's start with the basic analysis of an overheating vehicle. And of course, the first thing to do is to check the coolant. If it's low on coolant, it could easily cause the problem at low speeds. It could not overheat at high speeds, but overheat at low speeds because as you're spinning the engine faster, the coolant goes through the system quicker. And even if you're a little low, it'll still work okay, but at idle it won't. So these crazy systems, the real radiator pressure cap is here. So first thing we do is take that off. You can see it's full inside. This cap is to check the radiator. As you can see, it's not a regular radiator cap. It doesn't have a spring or anything, it's just a cap. And as we see, it's pretty much full inside there too. Now I asked the owner, has he had to add coolant to the system, antifreeze water mix? And he said no. We know it's not leaking. Normally, the next thing I'd do would be a pressure test of the coolant system with my pump system, but really, he said he's not losing any coolant. If you got a leak, you're gonna lose coolant. So the system's sealed. There's not a problem with that. And next, normally I'd do one of these combustion leak tests where I'd put the blue liquid in here, run the engine, and see if the blue turns yellow, showing that there's exhaust gas, and the radiator showing a blown head gasket or cracked head. The car overheats with the AC on and idling for long periods of time. If it was a blowing head gasket, the faster you go, the worse it'll get. The faster you go, there's more pressure, the engine's spinning faster, it would build the exhaust gas up even faster, and it would overheat worse at high speeds than at idle. So if it's a blown head gasket, it wouldn't have as much problem at idle, it would have a worse problem at high speed. And in this case, at high speed, it has no problem at all. So we know it's not a blown head gasket. It would be much worse the faster you go. So something's up in the system that doesn't leak. Now, maybe it's a stuck thermostat. The thermostats, when they're cold like this one, you can see it's stuck shut. As the engine heats up, it opens up and lets coolant from the radiator get into the engine to cool the engine. It's to warm them up faster. If it's stuck shut, it won't send any coolant to the engine from the radiator, and it'll overheat. But when they're stuck shut, they overheat pretty fast, and then they just stay overheated. And again, same as if the head gasket was blown. If you have a stuck thermostat, it'll overheat at low speeds, but it will overheat even worse at high speeds because you need more coolant spinning through the fast spinning engine to dissipate all that heat from the engine running at higher RPMs. It would overheat like mad if it was stuck at high speeds, and in this case, at high speeds it runs totally normal. What can it be? Well, it could be the fans aren't working right to cool the engine. So I'll start it up, turn the AC on, and we'll check the speed using our wind speed indicator. You can use your hand too, I can feel a lot of air coming out of here. Now this thing is rated at 5.68 miles per hour at idle. It's 5.67. That's certainly close enough. And really, for those of you without one of these gauges, you can get it for 25 bucks on Amazon, but put your hand here. I feel a ton of air. That fan's blowing. But in this case, it's a mechanical fan. It runs off the water pump. Most vehicles these days have electric, 1 or 2 electric cooling fans instead of a mechanical one, because they're more efficient, they work better. But you can test them the same way. Turn on the AC, make sure they're both blowing good. But in this case, I found out there's a flaw. The soldier who owns the car told me he was in a wreck and they didn't replace the condenser fan for the AC system. There's supposed to be a cooling fan in here, and as you can see, there isn't one. It's gone. But when you look closely, there's a lot of bugs stuck in there. So we're gonna clean those off first. So out comes my unbeatable Honda powered pressure washer. It's a Honda, so you know it's gonna start. The pressure washer, and in this case we're losing a lower pressure nozzle. You don't want too much pressure. To clean all the bugs off. And since it doesn't have the electric fan that goes on the condenser, which pushes the air through the condenser to cool the AC and helps push air through the radiator, which of course is behind the condenser, and make it work. So we're going to hook this thing up right in front of the condenser, then turn it on full blast. We want it on high. Then we'll go inside the truck, start it up with the AC on full blast. There it is, recirc. And we'll see what happens to the temperature gauge. Before it was going up all the way up to that notch that's under the H. Now it hasn't damaged anything yet because it has to get to the H when it boils, then it damages the engine. As long as it doesn't boil, it hasn't damaged the engine yet. So it hasn't done any damage. we're gonna let it sit for half an hour, 40 minutes, and check it every once in a while and see if it stays normal now. It sits so hot today, the end of July in Tennessee. I got a nice cool glass of water in a nice air-conditioned Nissan Titan and sit here for half an hour and watch it. Now, after 10 minutes, you can see it's still running good. Now, I can just about guarantee you that's the problem because it's logical. They didn't put the cooling fan for the condenser on after the wreck. It was designed that way. On the highway, yeah, you're going 60 miles an hour. You got 60-mile-an-hour wind, plenty enough to cool it off. But in the city, no. Especially when you're idling, it's gonna make it overheat, especially when you turn the AC on. The heat of the AC is ejected by the condenser that's in front of the radiator. So it puts a bunch of heat in front of the radiator. The condenser gets super hot. Then the air passes over the condenser, and then, since it's in front of the radiator, that hotter air goes through the radiator. Well, that extra heat is going to make it not work right if there isn't more wind pushing it through. And of course, when you're going 60 miles an hour, you got 60-mile-an-hour wind going through the condenser, going through the radiator, cooling it off. But I still don't trust anything, so I'm going to wait half an hour to see if it changes. And in the meantime, I can see his tire pressure monitoring system light is on. There it is. So we might as well check that. I can't just sit here drinking water, cool off for half an hour. I'd be bored out of my mind. Here we go, plug in the scan tool. You need a decent one to do TPMS. The really cheap ones won't help. We'll plug it in. There we go. Now, unfortunately, even the scan tool won't do the TPMS, so I need a better one. What the heck? I like trying out scan tools, seeing what works and what doesn't. So, here's my new Think Car one that I've gotten recently. This new one is called Think Tool PD8. We'll see how it works. And it shows this doesn't do automatic detection, this particular model. They're blaming it on the manufacturer, so we'll have to put it in manually. We see the BCM has problems. It's got a code, 4 of them, they all say low voltage. Weak batteries often do that. Even with all this information, if you notice, there is not a tire pressure monitoring service information on this scan tool either. So we're gonna do what I always have to do. I'm gonna have to get the actual tire pressure monitoring computer to check it out, a TPMS checker. Well, there's a life of a mechanic for you. Now, I got out here my Autel Max TPMS, and it plugs in. I always seem to get them upside down. There we go, that's plugged in. Now we'll see what this baby does. Here we go. We want to check it out. Yes, TPMS. Okay, what do we got? Nissan. Go up to Nissan. Diagnostics. Yes, taking an awful lot of time. The front left has low battery. The right rear has low battery. The right left has low battery. And there's no data from the front left. Now, this is the problem with these stupid systems. 3 of the 4 wheels have low voltage, and 1 has none at all. Since the front left has no data at all, that means the front left sensor is either broken or its battery is completely dead. The other ones are warning that they're low. So here's how stupid it is. If you took it apart and replaced the front left one, the other 3 are low. They're gonna go out soon. They're all made at the same time, right? You'd have to replace all 4. It costs a fortune. So I just say get yourself a $10 little gauge to check your tire pressure with, a tire pressure gauge. Fixing this is gonna cost a ton of money to fix it good, because if you change the front left one, sure, it'll start working, but then the other 3 soon are going to go out because it says their batteries are low. At least now you know how the stupid systems work, that you're going to need a really specialized tool to check them, not even a good scan tool. Most of them won't even read them. I'll just live with this one. Well, it's been about 40 minutes now messing with those things, so let's check the overheating problem. Well, as we look at the gauge, it certainly is not overheating anymore. So yeah, putting this fan in front to take place of the condenser fan that isn't there from the wreck, fixed the whole problem. Now, the customer's a soldier, he's pinching pennies, so I told him, don't go buy the super expensive Nissan fan, they want a ton for those things. Go to AutoZone, O'Reilly, any discount auto parts store, and get an electric fan, mount it there, put a toggle switch in the dash, put in a 20 amp fuse. You can turn it on when you want, when you're in traffic, turn it off on a highway. Who knows? It was wrecked in the front. Maybe it even damaged the computer. You might buy a new fan and hook it up the way it was set up and it won't work. You just get a fan, they're less than $100 usually. Put a fan there, some wire, toggle switch, and a fuse, then you got simplicity itself. Or go buy all the Nissan parts and spend a fortune. It's your choice. At least you know how you can fix them now. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.